Hi, welcome back to Dive Twang. I'm Dave. So today we've got a minor groove going, and it's going to be another really good example, this progression of how we can use our scale vocabulary. In this case, it'll be like a natural minor scale in D minor, and also incorporate our targeted triad notes. So for each chord, we do kind of a simple, quick, separate analysis and lean on some of those notes and land on them and so forth, and blend those two ideas together, the scale and the triad stuff, and you start getting a really interesting, melodic sound to your improvisation. And we do those things, we treat them sort of individually and then in combination, right? And that kind of simplifies, makes more of a process out of this, right? Rather than just, hey, here's some licks that do all this stuff. This is going to give you the recipe and the ingredients you need to, really put your own thing together. So let's look at the chords in this loop first. There we go. Just waiting for it to start again. It's B flat, C, D minor. One measure of these two, and then two measures of. Okay. And then our main scale that we're using on this, hey, I'm going to leave this for the comments too. See if you want to take a stab at well, I'm going to mention it later. But just for right now, given those three chords, what's your ideas of what key we could say this progression's in? And just, it's going to get revealed one way or the other. And there's not always just one right answer, but in this case, there's one that's a pretty straightforward. It's going to be, a pretty solid analysis. Here's a little piece of that puzzle. The D natural minor scale is going to work great with this. That's also called Aeolian, sometimes if you're using modal terms, right? So let's try that out. Here's a slide, a bunch of different places all over the neck, and patterns that you could play the notes in this sequence, right? This continuum of notes, if you take it on out below and above. But this is one that's located in a good place to play along with these chords. So let's see what that sounds like. Okay. Right? I was playing some pretty, simply even stuff there. And notice I didn't just go up and down the scale, kind of trying to, really getting away from that, even as far as demonstration. Because you have a diagram like that, and sure, you can practice it just ascending and descending, that's fine. But, when you've got your track playing, or when you're, one thing that we're really working towards on this channel and with this method is to always be in our musical state of mind, right? Not just, oh, I'm just gonna, I'm gonna mechanically do this, and then at some point I'll start making music with it. That's okay. But the more that I've got into teaching this method and the feedback that I've gotten from you all, the thing that people seem really excited about is that the way that these skills can be employed almost instantly. And I just think that's a good, mindset for us to be in. So when I'm demonstrating that, these aren't licks. These aren't things that you need to be copying. right. But, you know, making a few little bends and a few little musical style statements while we're demonstrating the diagram. So that was that D natural minor. It's the 6th mode. Here's another piece of the puzzle. In what major key? You know, keep you hanging here for a couple more minutes. So that's pretty much, that's our scale strategy for this, right? Also, why not, while we're at it, let's try out this D minor pentatonic, because it just seems like a good theory. If you got a minor progression, that you can take the namesake of that, D in this case, and just now, that minor pentatonic was definitely working. And that's just kind of one of my things. I just like that blues scale. I know you don't want to always be relying on that, but I just like that sound. And it's just such a big part of my playing. You'll probably rarely ever see me play any kind of rock improvisation that doesn't at some point just dig into that basic shape like that. But there at the end, I went back to that minor scale with more notes in it. Kind of added like a real melodic thing to a kind of a bluesy thing, right? And back and forth like that would be a good strategy for your scales. So those two things, we got those kind of locked in, right? Now let's look at this triad deal. We've got B flat, C, and D minor. Last week's lesson, I put up some diagrams. I don't want to say which key it was in here because I'm not positive. But this idea of taking like these kind of bar chords and isolating those 3 strings, whatever the root is, in this case B flat, right? And then C. Okay, those are major shapes. Now, the D minor, right, there's going to be 1 degree different there, right? Difference, because we're going to flat the 3rd in our chord, right? So you got 3 shapes right there. Okay, so right away, get those under your finger, but then let's try mixing them in. Okay, well, do a little bit of our scale. Now I've got some more on this slide right here. I got a couple more places if you haven't discovered these on your own, but you can start doing that more on your own now. Looking for other string sets to play triads on. And other places even on those interior strings, right? So, okay. Which is the same as down here. Alright, those are D minors, by the way. Okay, I don't want to throw too much at you at once. And then, of course, there's some that take place on these top 3 strings. Alright. Okay, don't try to take all this on all at once. Just, go back to what we started with. So, B flat, another shape. So we got or C, right? So we move that up 2, just like you'd move up 2 from there. It starts to come together for you, right? A lot of this stuff is just sort of, you know, the geometry of it, right? Well, I don't know. Right? I know I'm going to be taking those up 2 frets at a time, but just got to learn those new shapes. Another little bit of demonstration of that. There's our, now we're starting back on the B flat. That puts you right by your that nice pentatonic shape. Okay, so mix a few of those shapes together and just get used to moving around like that. Turn this back on for a second. Now, we looked at the D natural minor, the 6th mode, Aeolian, of what major key? Well, if you do the work on that, I don't want to confuse you by throwing around a bunch of, you know, stuff here all of a sudden, but it's the same notes that make up F major. Okay, listen to the sound of that. That's the do, re, mi. Don't worry about copying where my fingers just went. But if you start on F, right, that's F major. It's the same notes in that river of notes, right? It's not just one octave, it's a continuum. When you take those notes, but you start and end on D, play those same notes, it's D natural minor, or the Aeolian mode of for the major key of F. Now, this doesn't change everything that we were just doing, right? Think of it as that D minor, but if it helps, you know, you can also just experiment with that. And this is kind of another piece of, you know, putting it together about, well, what's the deal with these modes and things stopping and starting on different notes? And if you do the key study on F, you'll find that B flat is the 4 chord, C is the 5, and D is the D minor, sorry, is the 6 chord. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? And just to kind of check ourselves on this, what if I just play the F major scale over this? Back to that pentatonic, of course, for me. And yeah, I flubbed one note in there. It's kind of a good thing because it just, my hand corrected it real quick, but your ear caught it too, didn't it? Right? It's like, that was, yeah. Trust that ear process. Don't rely on visual checking of your work when you're playing music, right? The visual part of it's fine and important and useful, and it's a big part of those of us that are using our site to learn. It's a big part of how we learn and use diagrams and so forth. But remind yourself every day, your ear is the final assessor of what we're doing when we're playing music, right? So you'll just work it out in your own way. So that F major definitely fits melodically into this progression. So that's our program on this. Now, here it is again. Chords. Two scales. Okay. This stuff will be in the description section, and I'll paste it over the outro practice loop for you. That's that D minor or Aeolian scale with D as the root. We also discovered that all of this is in the major, relative major key of F. But stay in that D minor, way of looking at it. And then our triads. And we've got some diagrams here that'll show you, various ways that you can do that. All the ones I'm showing you are on these three strings here, the D, G, and B string. B flat, C, D minor. Here's another B flat. C, D minor. Okay. Now, there's 100 different ways to mix those in the different orders and things. But more importantly, that's a good place to start. I'm just going to learn those in a bunch of places and put this practice loop on and just work out on that. That's great. The real payoff here is when you get those down enough to where you kind of find yourself, oh, wait, I'm also right here. I'm going to throw in a little, a little sweet bend lick, and then, still know where I am with those triads. I'm going to do a little bit more demonstration, and then that's it for today. There was a lot in this one. This is just such a fun type of progression, and it shows up in a lot of songs and things. But it's just a great one to throw a loop on and just really veg out on. Here's a little bit more of what I'm talking about. Okay? And you're going to do your own thing. Your style is going to come out using those methods, right? It's not going to sound like what I just did, but it's going to sound like it's going to really be taking this vocabulary and expressing what your language is. And I just really enjoy that. And I love hearing from everybody about how that process is going for you and the doors that are opening up, and or maybe it creates more questions for you, which is great too. So please let me know how you're doing in the comments. And as always, I just really appreciate you and look forward to seeing you next time. Okay.